So in this video I want to share with you the relationship between the 5 elements in Chinese medicinal theory and then the organs that correspond to each of these elements. Now, these elements are a little different than their associated concepts in the West. Like Western, alchemy, Western astrology, Western philosophy, only has 4 elements, and then they have the ether, and then each of these elements has slightly different connotations, slightly different definitions than the Chinese system. However, the Chinese system is older and it predates pretty much everything else. And I think it's important to share this kind of introductory conversation, introductory concepts, because, when talking about herbs, I mention a lot of these different organs, mention the elements, and without understanding the context, we can't really draw the deep meaning, the deep understanding. And also, we need to keep in mind that not only do these elements have different connotations than maybe we're familiar with, but also the organs that we're talking about in this concept are going to be different than just the purely anatomical, purely physical, purely mechanistic way that we're accustomed to in the West. Like in this instance, when we speak of the lungs or we speak of the heart, we're speaking of more of a system of functions, of things that are, functions physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And it's just really a whole host of things, not just, for the lungs, simple respiration, but many other things aside from that. So in the Chinese system, there's 5 elements: metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. And there are different sequences of the elements. Some would be like kind of the generation cycle, and some would be the control cycle. So in this, we'll be following kind of the generation cycle. So each element corresponds with an organ system, and each organ system has a yin and a yang function. So the first element is the element of metal. And the element of metal is a little different than what we're used to in the West, because we think of metal, we think of like cars and buildings and skyscrapers, whereas back in ancient China, they thought of metal as something very sacred, something very spiritual, and something very heavenly, because they saw that metal would come down, from space, basically from asteroids and things like that, crash down to the earth, and it would come out of the earth. That's one way, and so it has slightly different connotations than what we're used to. So the organs that are associated with the element of metal is there's yin and yang. So the yin function would be the lungs, and then the yang function would be the large intestine. And the organ, another thing that's associated with these would be like our skin, which kind of makes sense, and because the taste that's associated with this element is the spicy taste. So when you eat something spicy, what do? You start to breathe, you start to sweat and perspire, so that stimulates your breathing, it stimulates your skin, but then also it stimulates your large intestine. So some people get diarrhea, or just it makes them go to the bathroom because of that spicy taste. So again, the yin is the lungs, and the yang is the large intestine for the element of metal. And the element of metal, the color for that is white or just clear or metallic. The second element is that of water, and water has the yin aspect is of course the kidneys, which I talk about a lot, and the yang aspect is the urinary bladder, which makes sense. And then things that are related to the kidneys would be like the sexual functions, sexual glands, and then like the bones, the bone marrow, and deeper functions in the body. And the taste that's associated with the kidneys with the element of water is salt, or salty, the salty taste. When you think about it, salt tends to regulate fluids, sodium, potassium balance. If you drink too much salt, you get kind of water retention, you don't have enough, you can't stay hydrated, it's about that balance. So that's the second element of water, whose yin is kidney and yang is the urinary bladder. The third is the element of wood. And actually, to back up, the color associated with the water element is blue or black, depending on the book you read or whatever. Some people say both. The next element is wood, and the color for wood is green. And it's springtime, and it's the season for wood, so it's a good time to do liver cleansing. And the yin organ for the wood is the liver, and the yang function, or the yang liver, or the yang, the yang organ is the gallbladder. The liver and the gallbladder, partially one system. And the taste that nourishes this element and these organs is the sour taste. The next element is the element of fire. And obviously the color associated with fire is red. And the organs associated with it would be the yin, would be the heart, and the yang would be the small intestine. So the taste associated with the element of fire is the bitter taste. Which coincidentally is a taste that we kind of, really move away from and really don't value in our culture. So the fifth element is that of earth. And earth has the color of yellow, and the yin organ would be like the spleen, pancreas, and the yang organ would be like the stomach. And the taste that's associated with these organs would be the sweet, which you can kind of see how that makes sense, whereas people who, indulge in sweets end up developing issues with the spleen and the pancreas. And now this element of earth in this system of the spleen, pancreas is a little different than what we're associated with in the West, and is really, correlated with the muscles and being able to put on muscle and keep weight on the body, as well as like fluid metabolism and overall metabolism and, digestive function. And this spleen is something that we always want to keep warm and kind of dry. It's kind of like, our digestive system is this cooker, and the spleen is the fire under it. So we always want to keep it warm and keep it, pumping good, so we can digest our food and absorb the nutrients and not hold on to water. So that's the 5 elements in their associated organs. In other videos, I'll get more into, what each organ does, the associated functions and all of that stuff. But to keep that brief, just a little bit of an introduction. And keep in mind, these elements are slightly different than what we're associated with and what we're conditioned to, think about them in the West. And also these organs are more systems that are a whole host of functions and associated, associated organs, associated valves, associated functions, emotions, taste, colors, seasons, directions, times, everything. And it's much deeper and much more well-developed and much more integrated and holistic than what we're associated with and used to in the West. So I've been getting a lot of questions about that lately. I just wanted to make this video to answer some of those. So if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.